Hi, my name is Jenny Lauren Dowden for Conduit News. Today we have former state senator Brian King joining us again. Thank you so much, Brian, for being here on Conduit again today.
All right, thanks for having me.
Listen, I know that you are busy. Early voting is underway. Just tell us briefly how things are going. And I just want to talk to you about a few things that I think voters are talking about right now.
Yeah, one is the no vote. And I mean, basically, as the figures I showed you from 2013, a lot of people like Bob Ballinger tout themselves as less government Republicans, more freedom, when in reality, they've spent more. I mean, state government, federal and spending has increased 50% since Bob Ballinger took office. And in 2013, there was just a lot of bills being filed that increased appropriations. There was a lot of things that were snuck into bills that we would find out later. And so basically, some of the times I would not vote, because if you voted no, and I'll give you an example, Linda Collins and I voted no on the Medicaid appropriation bill. And then the next thing they hit us with was, Linda and I talked about it. It was, a lot of wasteful spending, a lot of bad things in the bill, even though there was good things in it. And that's what they do. They tie it all together. And so when we voted no, the next thing they hit us with was we didn't care about foster kids and funding them. So they flipped the pancake on you no matter what you do. So a lot of times I would vote no if they didn't give you time to read it. And understand 95% of these bills are appropriation bills and batch bills, where they would throw 40, 50 bills in at a time, never give you time to read it. And lastly, I want to just say about the no vote. So once the FBI and Justice Department was coming in, investigating legislators, the whole process was corrupted. And I mean, almost all the process was corrupted. And you could just see it when you were down there. And you didn't know what you were voting on. They wouldn't give you time to read it. If you ask questions, multiple times, Bob Ballinger and several others wouldn't support Medicaid disclosure bills. And now we find out why later. So that's a simple thing. There was some other things. I am 53 years old, but 2.5 years ago, I had a hip replacement. And I was told in 2015 I needed to have my hip replaced. And I should have done it right then, and I didn't. So there were some other things too, but mainly it was because of the corruption, the fact that they wouldn't give you the bills, the increased spending that I mentioned before. All those came into play. And if people had voted like me, we would have shut down the process and actually had clean bills. The question that needs to be asked to them is, why are you voting on 40 and 50 bills at a time in a batch, or appropriation bills, and not reading them?
Yeah, I attended a debate last night, and that was something that Gayla mentioned. She said, they'll have a bill titled Safe Schools Act, but then, within that bill, they'll throw in a lot of other junk that doesn't need to be in there. It makes it not a good bill anymore. It's a bad bill. But then who wants to vote against a bill that says Safer Schools Act? Then you look like a bad person saying that you don't want your schools to be safe. So I think a lot of people will understand what you're saying. Also, people are saying, or people are hearing that there's a lot of things being said that are not true. Do you stand by all of the statements that you're saying in this campaign right now?
Yeah, we factually put out everything. I mean, they are the ones that's putting out misleading information on bills, like we mentioned. So, we stand by it. I mean, we have not been countered one time with, they'll say there's lies and this and that. And, whenever it's tied, that's why I'm endorsed by, Jim Holt and Bobby Holt, is because they know what it's like to fight, to be victims of sexual assault and not have it reported. We know the cover up in that. We know that a lot of things didn't get reported. We know in the Huntsville school situation that Bob Ballinger did absolutely nothing. And when he's getting countered on it, well, then he says different things and backtracks. I mean, he goes all over the place. So there's not been one thing yet that we've said that hasn't been accurate.
What would you like to do differently this time again in the state legislature should you win this election?
Yeah, we got to get back to spending. I mean, that is it. I just showed you the figures, and I wish you would quote the figures that I sent to you about how much the Medicaid budget has grown. And whenever one part of the budget grows like that, you have less to fight crime, you have less for tax reductions, you have less for highways, different things that we're constitutionally supposed to do. And so that's what crowds it out. And Bob Ballinger is not a less government Republican. I mean, you look at the figures that he has voted since 2013 and those figures.
Let me just mention just a few of
You bet.
those. So in 2013, 21% of the state budget went to Medicaid.
That's
Now,
right.
2021, nearly 27% of the state budget goes to Medicaid. Total budget in 2013 was 21.4 billion. Now Medicaid spending is it's exploded to 31.2 billion. That's nearly a 50% increase.
Yeah, total state and federal government spending has increased. Bob Ballinger has validated increasing that by 50%. And that just shows you irresponsible spending. So naturally, you have to come back and try and make something of there. They don't want to tackle that. I mean, you cannot be a less government Republican and increase state government spending by 50%. It's just not there.
All right. Well, as we mentioned, early voting is underway. Election day is 21st. Anything that you want to add before we let you go?
Yeah, they sit there and say everything's lies. The irresponsible spending on the personal side and as a public official has been documented as everything we do. His case with the Duggars, and we had a debate last night, and I outlined, there is a difference in our faith. I'm a Christian. I'm a humble Christian, or should be a humble Christian. And there is a different faith between myself and Bob, and Bob makes an issue of it. So let's talk about it. And you see what the differences is in the faith with the Josh Duggar situation, and you certainly see it in the Huntsville school assault situation, where Bob Ballinger did absolutely nothing. And then when caught in it, he just tells another lie and just says, "Hey, I was talking to people." Well, the newspaper went around and found out, no, you weren't talking to people. And his connection with Terry Forsyth, the school board member down there that was on the school board at that time, shows the connection. And the reality is that it's time to step up for the victims. And that's why I've been endorsed by Senator Jim Holt and Bobby Holt. And Bobby had to testify against Josh Duggar at the trial and basically say that, Jim Holt has said that Jim Bob lied. And that is what they do when they get caught in something. They will come back at you and say something else instead of addressing it. And so, once again, they'll say you lied, but what did you lie about? And then we provide the proof, and then they go to the next thing.
Well, as we've done before, we have invited Ballinger on Conduit. He has declined, but that invitation is still extended. Thank you so much, Brian, for joining us on Conduit. See you next time.
All right. And thanks for having me on and putting out those figures, because once people realize the real record of the spending, I mean, there is a clear difference, and methods that I took to stop it were clear. I mean, vote against it, not vote for it. There was a lot of things that I did to try and look out for the taxpayers. And with all the corruption that's come out, you guys named me corrupt legislator of the year based on the corruption. If people knew the corruption and focused on it in Little Rock, they would realize it's time to drain the swamp.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.